What is going on? Today, I want to talk about DNA and I want to talk about RNA. And I want to talk about them in a way where, when you talk about the brakes on a car, right? You have a car and you have brakes, right? You have a car and you have brakes on the wheels, right? When your foot hits that brake, right, this grabs the wheel front and back and slows it down, right? I mean, I know it's kind of stupid, but the point is that when you're thinking about the brakes on your car, you're not thinking about like, oh, some of us do, but most of us are not thinking, my ceramic brakes and my stainless steel and, and my brake fluid and how much water has gotten into my brake fluid and all that. We just say, I need to stop the car, so I hit the brakes. Okay. So there's like two levels. There's the sort of the granular level, where we can examine all the individual parts, and it's certainly relevant and important level, where we examine all the parts and we say, is this line healthy? Is that holds the fluid, the hydraulic fluid? Are the brakes worn out, et cetera, right? And then there's the other level where it's like you as the driver, you're just like, hey man, does my car stop? Right? Does the car stop, or does it work, or no, right? And should I go to the shop and fix it or not, right? So there's two legitimate levels. One is like really like hardcore, like what are we doing? And then there's the other level is like, does the thing actually work? Does it actually do, braking? And of course, brakes break. So now I want to take that similar approach on towards DNA and RNA. Now, if you go and you can do a lot of internet searching on this stuff, right? And you just want to find out DNA is this helical thing, and the RNA is half usually, not always, but usually, and there's base pairs here, and if there's one on one side, then the other one is defined, and it's a little different here. I mean, right? I've skimmed over it. I don't have the credentials to go deep. Like you have the credentials to say my car doesn't stop, but you don't necessarily have the credentials to say, well, is how healthy is my brake fluid, right? So there is a level that I'm not even going to get into because it would just make me, look more stupid because I'll be guessing. But we know generally what these do. So now what does DNA do versus RNA? Well, you have to have a biological system first, right? Otherwise, this is just nothing. So basically what this is biosoftware, right? Really, it's biosoftware. That's really what DNA and RNA is. Because it's basically instructions of how this organism is to constitute itself. And generally how it's going to operate, but it operates as a consequence of how it's constituted. So the operation of the body is sort of just a result of the constitution of it. Okay, so anyway, so what's the difference between RNA and DNA? So DNA is if you had a house. This is just like one. You've seen a house that's not framed, right? You can see through the walls. There's a plug socket here. Maybe there's a door supposed to go here. There's a ceiling with joists, and maybe there's a light, right? Like this is the inside of the house. And then, of course, the full layout of the house looks something like this. Here's the bathroom, and here's the front room, and door, and here's the you get what I'm saying, right? So DNA is like having a house where at every piece of the house, every small part of the house, you have a complete layout of the house. Meaning that, if I remove the doorknob, I can pull out a little piece of paper and it shows me the entire house, every single detail of the house, right? So this is true. Every cell, that's why they can get your DNA from just a swab of your spit, right? They can get your entire complement of DNA from that. So, but that doesn't say much. All it says is here's DNA is just the layout, right? It's not, DNA doesn't make the house build, right? The house is built using DNA. Well, that's where we come from. That's where RNA comes into the fact. What does RNA do? RNA, well, let's be a little bit more specific. Messenger RNA copies, it does some things, but what is its ultimate purpose? Is to create proteins. Proteins, which are how the body works, right? Remember the spike protein that we love? Did I spell that right? Whatever. The spike protein, right? Well, they sent mRNA into the body to create the spike protein to create antibodies against the coronavirus, right? So the whole point of mRNA is to create proteins. Now, what are proteins? Proteins are everything. Proteins are like all the pieces of your house, and there's a gazillion different types of proteins. So your body's made up of what? What do we got? Kidneys, we got lungs, we got a heart. I know my drawings are awesome. We got a brain and other organs and things, right? Just like you have a bathroom and a front room and you have plumbing, you have all these different parts of a house, just like a body has all these different parts. Now, what happens is that there are signals in these areas of the body that indicate what parts of this DNA, because mRNA is a copy of fragments of DNA. And the context of the copies of these RNA is based on where in the body and what's going on, right? So if I'm a kidney, then what I'm doing is I have mRNA creating proteins for my kidney cells. And, okay, so there might be a kidney strand up here in my DNA, so we're going to make an mRNA copy of that. And then there's another, I mean, I'm being arbitrary, right? So here's some kidney stuff. So the mRNA or RNA in general takes up the job of executing DNA instructions. Okay, DNA doesn't execute itself, right? Just like this doesn't execute itself, this doesn't build itself, something has to build it. And the body is built of proteins. And proteins are created by RNA, which are copies of DNA. So a copy of DNA through RNA is just a way of creating proteins. Okay, so this is the natural way the body works. The body builds itself by using RNA to go and get fragments for the appropriate places of the body. You know, here's the brain, right? So let's say there's a brain strand right here it needs, and there's a brain strand right here it needs, right? This is all arbitrary. I have no idea, right? But it's just fragments. RNA is going to be a copy of some short fragment of the DNA to accommodate some function locally in the body. And there's signals in the body that determine, well, what part of the whole complement of DNA do we need, right? We're kidney cells. We don't need brain parts. We don't need lung parts, et cetera, et cetera. And that's a pretty damn smart mechanism if you think about it, okay? Now, there's a thing that happens when you're doing all this copying, right? You know, it's like let's say you have a like network Wi-Fi communications, right? And you have your cell phone, and then you have your, let's say, the internet here, and you have this stuff going back and forth. Well, essentially what you're doing is you're copying a bunch of fragments, and they're getting sent back and forth, and they get copied many, many, many times going back and forth. You know, you send something across the internet, it gets copied, and passed around and pushed around. That's why they call it routing, right? Routed around. Because there's no actual substance to your data. Your data is essentially having to be copied. So there are mechanisms also here to make sure that the integrity of the data is good. Now, this is where things get interesting, right? In DNA, there's two types of mutations that you can get. And let's say this is like part of a long fragment of DNA that we want to copy, and it's for ABCD, right? I'm just calling it ABCD just to say that these are four different things. This doesn't correlate to anything specific. It's not the acids or it's not the base pairs. I'm just trying to distinguish four different things. Okay, if I want to make a copy of A, B, C, and D, I would expect to get back A, B, C, and D, right? But sometimes what happens is one of these will get mixed up. And let's say the B becomes a C. So we'll have A, C, C, D. So this is a bad copy. Now, in this mechanism here, in a Wi-Fi system, and also in your normal body system, it has ways to filter this out and say, that's no good. The other type of mutation is a frame shifting mutation, which is actually kind of scares the hell out of me. Which is you don't miss one of these. What happens is you shift the whole thing sideways. So this becomes just anything, garbage. And then it's A, B, C. But of course your D is gone now, right? So this is also a type of error that happens. This is frame shifting, and this is a mutation. Now there are filters both in this system and also in the biological system that say, no, this is no good. This data is no good. We need this. And that's what a checksum is, by the way, in software, is to make sure that these are right. Okay. Now, when they say the treatments or whatever it is, the mRNA stuff, when they say, oh, don't worry, it doesn't affect your DNA. It's no problem. mRNA does not affect your DNA. No problem. It doesn't change. Right, they say that over and over. It doesn't change your DNA. Well, every part of RNA that executes in your body comes from your DNA. But now what these psychopathic doctors have done is they have decided that they're going to invent their own version of mRNA. So they're going to come up with their own fragment that did not come from your DNA, and then they're going to send it into your body, right? So this is like if you had Wi-Fi and you're talking to somebody on the internet, and then somebody like outside of your communication circle is like, oh, I'm going to send some shit into there, like the government likes to do. We're going to just, for whatever purposes. The problem is that these filters that check for this type of mutations may not get implemented here, right? Because this never actually got copied from anywhere. This just got injected into your body, okay? That's whack, in my opinion, because it doesn't go through any of the vetting that even a human-made Wi-Fi network would go through. The mRNA. The doctors, they're like, yes, we know what we're doing, and we've tested this on 6 mice, and, we're going to just inject this. Now, what do you think happens when you get a protein that's been unchecked, mutated, and now you have protein getting created? Now you have some garbage protein, right? Garbage A, B, C protein is now being produced in your body. What do you think is going to happen if your body is producing mRNA proteins that it doesn't know about, never created, never planned for, never fit into the structure? Now doctors are sending this stuff in your body, and then you might have some errors in there. And remember, what's the purpose of RNA? To create proteins, because proteins is how your body does everything. So what do you think is going to happen if you get bad proteins developed in your body? They said this mRNA vaccine was going to last for 5 days and was going to stay local in the muscle it was injected into. It's not injected into your veins, it goes into your muscle. Well, this thing they found in dead people a year after, still in their body, in their brains, in their liver. So mRNA from the doctors stays in your body. We have no idea how long. None of the doctors know how long. And it's just like, well, we're just, and this is what kills me, because when you're building a network and you run into these kind of errors, you go crazy trying to solve them. You really go over the top trying to. That's why, when you use the internet and you get your stuff back, there's all kinds of errors and mutations and things going on, and they get thrown out. Also in your body, in this communication, when your body's signaling to get some DNA fragments for some particular part of your body, there's a whole system of correction going on in there. This stuff, we'll just make this up and inject it directly into your body. That doesn't seem right to me, man. And I'm pretty sure that even though I can't tell you all, I can't define what the pairs are and everything that goes on in here. What I'm telling you about this right here is truth. I'm not making this up. Frame shifting, regular mutation, checking, filtering. This is all. DNA doesn't do anything. mRNA is the conduit between your body and your DNA. RNA really is the central. This is the worker. RNA. This is the thing that does the action. Actions happen in your body because of RNA, not DNA. DNA is just how things should happen. RNA is what and making things happen. All right, I just wanted to get that out there. And obviously, people will not like some of this, but I'm sorry if you accepted this to your body, because these doctors, can't trust them. You cannot trust them. You can only trust yourself. And of course, I mean, if you know your doctor, obviously they're people, right? You can trust who you trust. But this stuff that we've been sold, they've been messing with your software, and they're too stupid to understand all the subtle ramifications. And guess what? You get to pay for it. And then they pretend like, hey, what's your problem? So, you know what? Give me the original type of vaccine. I have no problem with a normal vaccine. In fact, just make me sick. I had coronavirus. Weird. I was smelling cigarettes for 2 weeks. But I had coronavirus. I'm freaking nothing wrong. Hopefully that was the only time I had it. Like over a year ago. Okay, I'm done. We're done? Yes. All right, well, thanks a lot for stopping by. I just wanted to moan and groan about that for a minute. Hopefully that makes sense and give you something to think about. Okay, thanks. Have a great day.